In our day-to-day life, we can get pulled forwards and backwards. We can really get pulled into our life, and we have to sort of pull back, zoom out to find ourselves over and over throughout our day. In class today, I'm going to sort of talk about how we can unmind the mind and find this middle. A lot of the times we think of the middle as between left and right, but I'm going to play with the middle as between front and back here as you do some yoga, and sort of help you feel that middle space, that midline, is sort of that space between being pulled forward into your life and pulling back into your practice and finding that middle ground between them. So to do that, I've got a fun exercise. I'm going to zoom out, and you can go ahead and zoom out into your space for movement. And ideally, you have a yoga blanket or something that you can elevate your heels on. You're going to take your yoga blanket or anything that you can elevate your heels on. It could be a small pillow. I'm going to elevate my heels a little extra there with a double fold of the blanket. And as an experiment, rolling that up, and then as an experiment, you're going to stand in front of the blanket for a moment. We'll just sort of like feel with our body, and then we'll come back to this afterwards. The back line of the body is this slow twitch endurance muscle fiber that is lifting us up all day long, and it really can help ground you to bring your attention into this back line of the body. It's special. It's real. There's really a whole family of awareness, a big team of muscles here that can help to ground you. How do you find them, though? You got to work with your back line a little bit. You got to do some forward folds and pull your awareness back there. A lot of the times our back lines are sort of tight. Our calves are tight, our hamstrings are tight, our low back is tight. And how do we release that chain? Well, we're going to do that right now in this next sequence. But before we do it, just go ahead and rock in your feet a little bit forward and back. And we'll just take a moment to sort of notice how our hamstrings and our low backs are doing. And you can scoop the air in front of you, scoop the air and sit back, and then stand up and tiptoe a little bit up. Scoop the air and sit back into your heels, tiptoe standing up a hair. One more time, scooping back, and then we'll stand up, floating up. And then finally, as you sit back and you scoop the air, check in with your shoulders. Neck is totally relaxed, nice neutral spine, not too much arch, not too much rounding. And pour the spine over the legs for a moment, and just sort of notice your forward fold, and notice how you feel it, where you feel it in the hamstrings. Notice how it's affecting the back. Just notice sort of where you experience it. We'll bend the knees, bring the weight into the heels, and slowly tuck the tail and roll up, rolling our shoulders back one at a time, releasing any tension there, and then stepping your heels onto this blanket. Hey Purna, welcome. Doing a little bit of yoga. You're welcome to step onto a blanket like this. I actually find that my little stand was too high. I'm going to shorten it. It should feel sustainable. All right, so what's happening right now? It's really interesting. You have sort of elevated your back line and just sort of unloaded this back line of musculature, so it's not having to be as long, and you've taken the weight out of it. You sort of slackened it, is how they normally put it. And so we're slackening the back line, we're giving it a little breather, we're giving it a break, and then we're going to sort of work with it a little bit and sort of bring some circulation there. So similar to what we just did, scooping up, and then you're going to stand up, right, but you're already on your tiptoes, so you just sort of float forward into the ball mounds of the feet. Then you scoop up and let your weight sink back into those heels, and then just easily stand up. And one more time, pausing there in chair for a moment, feeling the back line of the body. You can feel the hamstrings underneath on the back side of your legs sort of supporting you. You can feel those glutes strong on the back side of the hip. Low back is neutral, not too arched. And then from here, if it feels okay, you can actually let the arms relax, and you can slowly lower down into almost a squat. And a squat's okay, or you can be up here in almost a squat. You could also have your hands on a chair. From there, pausing, tipping forward, and forward folding. We do this a lot together. Heels press down, tuck tail, roll spine up, shoulders roll back a few times. Super simple. Same idea, you can scoop forward to sit back, just floss that one more time and then stand up. And the next time you scoop back, you can pause in chair for a moment, And then elect to, if you'd like to, go down towards a squat. Hands can plant in front, tipping forward and rolling up. And so we're like massaging our back line with these movements in this nice slackened way. Scooping and standing. Welcome to pause when you get to your next chair. And then just slowly back down for one more squat. This time, if you're okay with the squat, you can pause here for a moment with the hands in prayer. If it doesn't feel great for your knees, you'll come to tilt forward into your forward bend, or to simply have your hands maybe on the floor, unweighting you on blocks, for example. Give ourselves about 10 more seconds. And then pouring forward. Pressing down through the heels, rolling up, shoulders roll back. And just finishing here by interlacing the hands behind your back. A little knee bend can unload the front. And then you'll extend the arms and extend the knees together. And bend the arms and bend the knees a little bit. A couple of times. Feel those actions working simultaneously. Try not to let the ribs splay open. That means usually drawing in at those low ribs. All right, and release. Last roll. Shake. And then step off of the blanket and just feel the awareness, the length of the back line of your body. It almost feels like your heels go down through the floor. And just feel that connection, that awareness that's happening from the heels to the calves, the hamstrings, the back, all the way to the back side of the head. Even the top of the head is considered part of your back line. And notice the weight distribution, how it's naturally in your heels without you having to even rock back into them. You just seem more grounded. You just feel it. You can feel the earth. So that back line is really our connection to this feeling of groundedness that we're seeking a lot during our day. And just by paying a little attention to it with a few movements, a few stretches, here it is. So let's play with it a little. If that blanket's right behind you and need some more room, just sort of scoot it back just so you can step forward. We'll step, for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to say my actual leg. This is my left leg here. Step forward into that left leg. And we're going to do this a couple of times. You're just going to turn into the leg and then press yourself back. And then here. So you're sort of floating back and then stepping in and turning. And the next time you sort of float back, let yourself step in, land, pause. Let's check out our feet. Front foot's forward. Back foot's almost forward. And when you bend the knee, it doesn't easily extend over the ankle. It should be sort of a reach. So I'm having to inch mine a little bit more forward. Hips are squared forward, though. We don't want them to go out to the side. Scooping just like we did before. Shoulders go down the back. The knees gently reaching forward, and bring your awareness back to that back line of the body. Feel that back heel behind you, grounding. It's not like you have to press through it. It just has a connection to the earth. And walk that awareness up the calf, the hamstrings, the back. And just feel this silent backdrop of awareness, grounding. Slowly pressing that foot forward, relaxing the arms down. I'm going to sort of do a sort of an odd transition. We're just going to turn to the side for a moment. We're going to turn to the side for a moment. Knees bend a little bit. We're going to scoop one more time and then pour the spine forward again for an easy fold. And just let yourself sort of sway side to side. Let the spine sway with you, neck and head. Press down through feet. Feel the heels sort of pressing down to roll you up. And then you can turn back towards me for fun, and we'll just sort of hop back to our Tadasana. So easy, just keeping it simple. Bouncing in place. This just means lifting your heels. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then a little shake. Great, and a roll. Right foot comes forward. Foot's forward on the front foot, back foot almost pointing forward. Go ahead and bend the knee a little bit, and it should just barely make it to that ankle. Keep those hips square, though. We want to protect the ACL behind us. Scooping the arms up. The shoulders go down as the arms go up. Let's do that one more time. Slow down the rise, okay? As you lift, imagine you're actually lifting something like a water balloon. Really lifting, and then that'll help the shoulders actually go down the back when they go up. Shoulders really relaxing down. Awareness in the back line of the body. It's like you can see forward, but you can almost see behind you because you can feel what's going on behind you. Feel the length, also the front of the body, lengthening up across the hip, drawing up through abdominals, through heart. We can extend the leg and reach up, turning towards the feet for a wide straddle, pouring spine forward, easy. Side to side swaying. And this time we're going to plant the hands and bring ourselves down to hands and knees. You're welcome to sort of readjust to be able to see me here. Keep it simple. Cat and cow. It's a classic, but we're going to reverse the breathing pattern. So normally it's an inhale to arch the back, but we're going to exhale, and you're going to let the heart reach forward and the ribs sort of reach down and the tail lift up. And then inhale as you draw the abdominals in and round the spine into the sky. Exhale again as the heart reaching forward, the tailbone sort of drawing back and up, lengthening, not splaying ribs, but lengthening. And then the inhale takes you up, rounding the back into the sky. One more time on your own. Exhaling, cow. Inhale as you draw up into cat, and then pause for a moment in cat. Check in. We don't want the work in cat to be in our rib cage. We want it to be down in the abdominals below the ribs. So easy to over around the rib cage. So pull the abdominals in. And then something that's really fascinating you can do from here, keep the abdominals pulling in as you slowly lengthen back towards neutral table. So good for you. You basically are maintaining that nice tone as you find neutral and that little bit of tone that's required in neutral table. And then from here to sort of test your neutral, slowly unweight one arm and you'll feel the body really finding neutral. You'll feel micro adjustments happening. You'll feel yourself wanting to micro adjust your pelvis. Unweighting the hand, just sort of gliding it to the side. Super simple. Doesn't even leave the floor. We're just adding weight to the equation. Then we bring the hand back under the shoulder for a moment. And then back to neutral, which is sort of cool in and of itself to find weight in both hands. And then just for fun, we're going to inhale and round again in that low back. So that's sort of that preparatory phase. Then keep the abdominals on as you come back to neutral table. It should take you some time to do that. Unweighting the other hand, slow, and just try to feel all the weight coming into the hand that's on the ground and all the work your body has to do to sort of counterbalance that spiraling action just to keep you level. Yeah, it glides out, it glides back, easy. And then tucking the toes under, unweight the knees for a moment. And unweighting again, the knees don't really even leave the floor. They just barely leave, like the pants still probably touch the floor. And then we're back. Pause for just a moment in Bhaktasana. You can stack hands. Forehead can stack on top of hands. And try to breathe into that space, into that mid-back. Sort of the area we were just focusing on, that lower mid-back. See if you can get the diaphragm to help you feel that lower mid-back. We rarely breathe into our backs. We don't see it. We don't think about it. There's a lot of space back there for expansion. Doesn't mean you have to breathe deep. It just means you can feel more as soon as you bring your awareness to it. Slowly curling up, standing up on your knees. Something that's so good for you is these Nordic, we call them Nordic rock backs. Don't know why we threw the word Nordic in there, but it's cool. They feel strong. You're basically making a plank with your body from knee through hip to shoulder, and then you're simply tilting back, and you'll feel the front of the body have to really come online to keep you in that plank-like position, and then slowly forward. And so you're just playing with that toning of the front body. You're getting your front body to really say hello and to feel this relationship between front and back body. And this is a nice warm-up. You can tuck your back toes under. And so from here, keep that tone and then find one heel with your fingertips. With your fingertips pressing down, you can sort of scoop quietly the other arm up and feel this quarter camel, you might call it, or just half camel, I guess, Urdhva Ustrasana. Let's get a nice little spiraling pattern in it. You can feel some tone across your glutes as they draw down towards the floor. And then reach up to come out slowly with control. Good. And we'll just do the other side real easy. Toning as you go back, opposite fingertips to heel, and then scooping up the front hand. Feel the line across the body. Basically, you can feel that long stretch across the hips, and also the upward lift of the heart, and the downward toning of the glutes. The glutes, the muscles of the back side of the body, toning down towards the hamstrings. It feels like it keeps the hips in nice neutral positioning. Toning, not clenching. Reaching up to slowly come out. And finishing with just some easy counter poses of just a twist. So we're going to bring our right foot forward. And from here, scooping up one more time with the arms just to feel very spacious. Shoulders relaxed, no tension in the neck. And then from here, just let the arms, this is a funny one. I always overdo this. I hope you can take your time. Let the arms open as you turn from the heart into the knee in front of you, but we're not trying to come all the way to the side. We're not trying to make a T. We're just twisting open. Arms follow the body. And then come back up. And just do that a couple of times. It's almost like you're just drawing towards a twist. Twisting into the knee, yeah. And then back up. The reason I say I always overdo this is because I always feel like I want to look all the way to the side, and I feel like I miss the actual twist that's happening around my midsection for the sake of having my arms in a certain spot, or my gaze. Good. And we can bring those hands forward. Some nice big circles with our hips. We'll plant the hands under the shoulders, draw that leg back, and have yourself in a half plank position. Spread the hand or the fingers out wide. Feel the weight mostly in the lateral edge and a little bit underneath the thumb of the hand. And then just finding neutral, not even calling this plank. We're just finding a neutral tone here. We always forget these holds of a gentler position can produce really nice tone in our body that's much more sustainable than the depth we might bring in a harder hold. From there, the other foot, you can hit, the hips are going to go back, other foot's going to glide forward, and then we stand up for that twist. This will be the last thing we do here. So scooping the arms up, feeling very spacious. You can have the back foot flat or tucked. I don't know, they both seem good. And then remember, it's not about how far you twist, it's about feeling the twist. The arms follow you. You don't follow your arms. You don't follow your gaze. The twist is your spine. Follow your spine. Follow your heart in the twist. If you get into your next twist and you want to pause, you can breathe steadily there. Try to breathe so gently that no one could even see you breathing. That requires a lot of skill. It's not easy, but it's possible. Press down through the feet, reach up through the arms, and then float forward for those easy hip circles. Draw the foot back, knees back. Fingertips are going to press you into a sort of a squat and then round over your legs. And then slowly, like we began, you're going to roll up with the weight in your heels. Shoulders are going to roll back and then bounce. 5, 4, 3, 2, and shake. All right, take the next minute. If there's any counter poses you need, go for it. We're going to set up for philosophy and meditation now. So if you need a counter pose, go for it. If you don't, then just sort of get your meditation seat ready. Right. So no, we're always figuring this out. If you could scoot forward. And then, yeah, so that way we're sort of in this circle and we can all see each other in the screen and everything. All right. So our dharana of focus asks us to unmind our mind, and I am so incredibly grateful for this dharana, and wanted to sort of share a story alongside the interpretation of the dharana that can guide us into meditation as well. So very simply, in the dharana, we're instructed by Swami Lakshmanju, who translates it and sort of teaches along the way, to sort of abide in this dharana in the following manner. He says, from all sides, focus your mind on one point in the body. It may be between the eyebrows, in the heart, the throat pit, the navel, anywhere. Dissolve your mind in that single focal point with strong alertness. For the yogi who does this, the appearance of the reality of God consciousness emerges, one that does not subside. So as you know, in our tradition, we work at the heart a ton. It's a focal point in all of our practices. So obviously that would be a strong focal point for this work. So we're bringing our attention to the heart and we're holding it there. We're holding it there with a strength of focus. And this focus has a metaphor that comes up later in the interpretation of the dharana that I'm going to read for you now. There must be one pointedness, just like a flame, a candle flame, undisturbed by air. As the Bhagavad Gita teaches, just as a lamp in a windless place does not flicker, so is the comparison used for a yogi whose mind is controlled and absorbed in meditation on the self. Lakshmanju continues, he says, like that, the mind must remain unwavering. Otherwise, there is no possibility of attaining it. The yogi will not grasp it. When the mind is unwavering, the appearance of Lord Shiva will also be steady, unmoving, and fully present. A flame that is not flickering. A flame that is not flickering in your heart center. That level of focus. Paul Reps translates the dharana to say, keep in the middle. Keep in the middle. This unflickering flame, what makes it flicker? You know, we know in the Yoga Sutras they're called thought waves. They're actually waves. They're actually like, there's a movement in there, a thought wave, a vritti. It makes your mind flicker, right? So how do we hold unwavering awareness and unflickering focus? We have to unmind our mind. How do you do that? Well, as thoughts come up, we have to literally let go of our attachments to them. Unmind our mind. An unflickering candle at the heart. Now, I give you this focal point early in the presentation so that you can just simply work with it and use it even while I'm talking. But I wanted to share a short story with you about how this dharana really came to life for me. Recently, Abaya and I had to make a decision about sort of a procedure for Narayani, our baby. And although it was an elective procedure, it's pretty important. And, we had to do our research, and there was all these different viewpoints. I mean, you know how it is. Yes, no, maybe, we don't know, etc. So many different viewpoints, so many different perspectives that it was impossible to make an educated decision almost. Yet time was not on our side. With every week or month that passed, the procedure became less and less effective. And so we had this sort of a perfect storm of a lot of mind thought waves, And so at a certain point I realized in our process, the mind is not going to solve this problem for us. I just was like, this isn't going to work. We can't think our way to our solution, even though that would be sort of comfortable. And so we had to take a different approach. I said, let's look at this doctor's appointment as a consultation. If we choose not to do it, fine. But we got to just proceed and just sort of go forward slowly with focus and see how it feels. And so that's what we did. And there were so many moments along the way when it felt like the whole thing could have just gone another way. We get to the airport. We've never flown with a baby. Didn't know about the check-in process, didn't bring her identification card. I was like, okay, well, we missed this flight, we missed this appointment, maybe that's it. Find the identification card, we're on the flight, we're making our way. Find a taxi with, a child seat, find somewhere to eat next to the doctor's office. It just sort of goes, hey, it's unfolding, the path is unfolding for us, as the Shiva Sutras say. And our only goal was to let go of our mind every time it popped up, because I was like, mind, you had your shot. You had months to make this decision. You couldn't do it. We're trying it a different way. Oh. And hopefully the microphone is coming through okay for most people. I just got a note that it might not be. Okay, cool. And so unminding mind was like a focal point for me the whole day. I just had to keep putting it to the side, putting it to the side, putting it to the side, over and over and over, and keeping in the middle, just staying present. Over and over, and just sort of until, and that's what the dharana says, keep in the middle until what? Until something until it arises, right? And so go through the procedure, goes well. Now we got all these other little hoops to jump through, each one simple, present, sticking with it, one foot in front of the other. We get to I forgot to put up this fun picture I had of Narayani on the airplane. We get to the airport, and we're letting Narayani sort of stretch out her legs on the floor, and then this little rainbow hits her right in the middle of the airport, and we're like, wow, because she's had rainbows sort of in her life at all these different stages that were really important, so much that we actually named her middle name Indigo because of it. And it just felt like a really good sign. There felt like grace all along the way, I don't even know where that rainbow came from. We're in the middle of an airport. And so we're flying home, and I look across the aisle, and I'm like, hey, I opened the door for you earlier. And the people right across the aisle from us had just had the same procedure. So we're sitting there, it just feels very grace-filled, very synchronous. And then we have to keep going. And I thought, okay, that was it. Ends up there's these post-operation procedures. We have to stretch your tongue every day, 6 times a day. And I'm like, oh, it's still not over. It's still not over. And I know I'm a new parent, and there's tons of stuff that parents go through like this. But this dharana really supported me. Unminding my mind, just putting it on the shelf over and over and over. Keeping in the middle, nothing more you can do sometimes when you're really going through it. And then the until thing, just having that receptivity, just having that ability to sort of wait, to pause, and to receive. When does the until happen? And so I wanted to share this quote from Sri Shambhavananda that really encapsulates these times for a lot of us. I think a lot of people are going through some challenges like this. I've actually gotten emails recently from a couple of close Sangha members that say the same thing, like these have been in some challenging weeks, challenging months. This quote from Babaji really helped me out, and maybe it'll help you. He says, when you have an impossible life situation with no apparent solution, what do you do? Do you run around and make everyone else unhappy? Yes, I've done that. I totally recognize that. I was like, yeah, that's what I... Do you get depressed and go get stoned? How do you deal with it? The way you should deal with a tough situation is to meditate. Meditate until you can actually feel yourself free of the pressure that had built up in you. I've done this hundreds of thousands of times over the years. When we first came here, he's talking about to Boulder many years ago, we were running Rudy's restaurant. We had no money to pay for the vegetables to make the soup. It felt as if the whole world was ending. We had no money. Nobody was coming to buy soup, and everything was going crazy. It seemed like such a big disaster, as if the world was ending, which is how it feels for all of us, right? A lot of the time. And what did I do? He said, I would sit down and meditate in order to process the chaos. And then something would happen. Something would change. If you're paying attention, the subtlest change that comes along will lead you out of the bind that you find yourself in. I love that. From Rudy Month, Rudy had a very similar quote where he said, if you're really working and you're really trying to reach inside, that little shift can happen and you can just follow it like catching a wave all the way to shore. If you're ready for it, that little shift, like Babaji's saying, the subtlest change can come along, and if your energy is flowing, that one wave can take you all the way in. He says, however, if you continue to stress out, you'll never see a way through it. I often say that we should be looking for what's possible, not what we want. Many times what's possible will lead us on a path that brings us to where we want to go. But we become very attached to how we think we should get there. And so here we go, concluding. When I'm faced with a problem that seems to have no solution, I get above it energetically with my awareness. I get above the tension that has me bound. I focus on my wish to grow. Then I see a way to move forward. If you remain stressed out or unfocused, you'll create endless problems and see endless limitations that prevent you from solving the problems. So many of us are presented with situations that have no apparent solution. And there's so many different facets this can take. And we're all given this one task of like, how can each of us learn how to use our practice in those moments? And I think this dharana really gives us a path forward. Unminding mind. Just letting your mind be just like a little yapping dog that you just sort of have to learn how to tune out every now and then. Learning how to press mute or whatever it might be. What is that shift? Keeping in the middle. What does that mean? What does keeping in the middle feel like? And then the until aspect. How long are we all willing to do this work? I remember a month ago someone asked in this class, I was doing my practice, but eventually I sort of caved in and I got really upset at this person and etc. And they're like, sometimes I wonder why you even do it. And I was like, well, I don't think any of us ever really want to cave in, It's like sometimes we do, but being willing to like work inside until that happens, that's a pretty big accomplishment. So just being willing to do the work inside till, either something shifts inside or, you got to take a break from it. But like at least you went for it. So there's really no way to lose. And so if there's any questions or comments, feel free to unmute and ask. Otherwise, we will sort of shift into meditation. And remember, our second class, there's always a lot more time for discussion as well. So, but feel free. So feel free to adjust your seat. Take a sip of water if you have one. Babaji often teaches a practice of leaning forward and back, and then trying to find a balance point in between forward and back. A point where you feel almost lighter than normal. And the musculature that supports you here is deep and it's subtle. Your deep postural core. And just by simply maintaining this upright posture, you're strengthening your capacity to hold that posture over time. This is a great example of keeping in the middle. This is a physical middle. Asana leads you to pranayama, pranayama leads you to meditation. Here's your middle. How do you keep in it? Do you bear down? We all know that doesn't really work. Can you totally let go and just sort of no, you got to have a little bit of tone. And it's that balance of tone, that effortless effort. And you can feel it on a physical level. So often we skip this level, we go right into the practice of meditation, but this is a stepping stone that helps you arrive. Feeling this tone of the middle. Keep in the middle. What does keeping in the middle of our breath feel like? It means a balanced inhale and exhale. A breath flow that is neither just a big inhale or just a big exhale, but a breath flow. Now naturally the exhale is a little bit longer than the inhale in a balanced breath flow. But it's intuitive. And similar to our body, our breath requires a little bit of tone, the gentlest amount of effort to make it smooth, to keep it in the middle. And similar to life, there's an element of time. You have this center point of the body, you've got this middle balanced breathing. And you're like, okay, now it should happen, right? And that's why the Dharana says until. We don't do our practice to make something happen. We do our practice to allow something to happen. We become vacuous, we become present, and we allow things to drop away and new things to grow. We become a part of the flow instead of pushing the flow. In the middle of us, energetically speaking, is the heart chakra. It's roughly the middle of us physically with that center point of the chest. It's also a couple inches in from the surface of the chest, sort of in the middle space of the body. Sometimes it can be easier to feel this deeper feeling of the heart after doing the work we did with our back line. Normally our awareness is very forward, and it's hard to feel 2 inches in to the chest. But maybe you have a little bit more luck with that today because of the work we did earlier. Unminding mind. You have to make that real for you. To put down the mind is sticky, tricky business. It's not a rejection. It's simply holding one's awareness and not reaching for the thought that passes us by. Keeping in the middle is how we unmind our mind. You can feel yourself pick up a thought. It's a very familiar feeling. Whenever you feel that, try to do the unfamiliar, which is soften and release it, just like releasing something out of a gripped hand. You naturally arrive back at center just by releasing the thought. It's one and the same. The center of the heart, the center of the breath. Imagine your mind as relaxed as an open hand. We all know what a clenched hand feels like, a gripping hand. And we also know what that open, receptive hand, a palm, feels like. Let your mind be that receptive. Just open and relaxed with awareness at the heart. To support the mind and its efforts, you can bring the mantra hum to the inhale, sa to the exhale, the silent mantra of the breath, hum, sa. Holding on to a mantra can help you let go of thoughts, to unmind the mind and keep middle. And really feel that until aspect, the willingness to do this over and over again. To put one foot in front of the other, one breath in front of the other. Unminding mind, keeping in middle, over and over. Notice that this degree of focus, the steadiness that you feel right now, can resemble that unflickering candle in the heart. And it's not because of the grip or the strength of your focus, but it's because of the balanced centeredness of it. There's tone of focus, and there's also a very light receptivity, an openness, a softness. And the beauty of a practice like this is it follows you off the cushion. Unminding mind is something you can do in any setting very simply. keeping in the middle is simply being present. And so I wanted to take the last 3 minutes for a little bit of journaling and allow you to sort of reflect on where this landed for you. We'll take about 2 or 3 minutes to journal, and then we'll have a moment to just share key words leading to the end of class. So take a couple of moments now and just allow yourself to free write, meaning no editing. It has to be interesting to you, has to be fun. Start wherever you want. Don't have to lead up to anything. Just let yourself reflect. Another 45 seconds or so. Rereading through what you wrote and underlining a key word or a key phrase. And then we can share that keyword or key phrase in the chat box. And if you guys have one here, I can type it for you. Just let me know.
Silky clouds of light seeping in.
One more.
Silky clouds of light seeping
Anyone else? Okay. Just looking out the window. Feel the expansiveness, patience, silky clouds of light seeping in. Grateful until brightness, stability, stillness, wishing to live there always. Boundless, no matter what. Excellent. So the goal here was to plant a seed for you, to give you an experience to work with. Say maybe something for your yoga practice for the week, something for your meditation practice for the week, and that we sort of we let this seep in, and we meet back a week from now, and we're going to have time for a little bit of yoga, a very short condensed version of the presentation in case anybody wasn't here, and then more meditation and a significant amount of sharing. So bring it into your day, bring it into your life, and see what unminding the mind and keeping in the middle until means to you. I'm always happy to stay a little later if there's any questions. Feel free to just stick around and unmute. But I just want to say thanks, everyone, for being here, for letting this seed get planted, and namaste. Really looking forward to sort of hearing from you all next week and doing some more practice with you.